Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who Review, episode number 104. We'll get a couple things discussed here for this one. Yes. First being this. Those of you thinking, wait, Nick, did you already discuss that already? I have. But I'm going to discuss second time again because they released the anime restoration episode of this particular one. But mostly episode 3, which the complaint I had heard about this particular episode, the anime for this one, is that, well, the best way to describe the anime restoration here is that it described the character looking drunk, the fact they're swinging arms all over the place. I didn't see it for the episode I saw. It may have been the other episodes they decided to do because, yeah, the people who did this also did pretty much the whole entire story animated, despite the fact there's also surviving episodes. So whenever it has stuff like this, unless the whole thing is lost, what I do is I go back and forth between. I have it set up basically where I click the option of doing the existing episodes with the anime restoration episodes. I did that with Celeste Toymaker because they only had one story available, so I watched the first 3 episodes all in the new format, which I thought was really good. This one in particular, well, it seems like for the Abominable Snowman for this one, and it seems like they use the same model they used for the Abominable Snowman for the Yeti. Yep. And of course, basically, like in the case of the very previous story for the show, well, in the case this one, I think this was the second time in the history of the Doctor Who where he had the story in a cliffhanger, and this one basically, well, it picks up right where it last left, that being M in the World, when Salamander was basically shoved out in a space-time vortex, later popping up in a Titan comic for the Third Doctor, where he basically disguised himself as a second Doctor because played with the same actor. So eventually they do close the doors, and then of course, then briefly trapped under webbing. Yes, webbing. And there's stuff going on in London Underground, and then they land underground. And here's a fun fact about the Underground here. This is not the actual Underground, and that's shown in here. Nope, it's not the actual one. You're thinking, wait, it looks like the Underground. The explanation I have heard, and I've read this online, is that, well, they actually made an offer to actually shoot this on the actual London Underground. The people who run the London Underground said no, so they are creating they recreated the actual thing for the actual sound, for an actual set, and the London Underground actually sued them for allegedly thinking they actually did shoot on there, despite the fact I think it was so exact. And of course, also this story was referenced in 11 Doctor story, which brought back the Grey Intelligence, who's actually in the story. It brings back Professor Travers from the original story, which came out the previous year, and well, we see him where he's in a museum where he basically is looking at a Yeti. I'm guessing it's the same model from the Abominable Snowman. Yeah, I think it's the same model because later on they do have the upgraded ones. If you watch the anniversary one, it's the same model. That where basically their belly is a little more harder than they were before, where it's like rubber instead of basically fur. Probably because 9's to bed this time. But as for the famous scene where the Doctor first meets Brigadier Alice Lippert Stewart, well, they pretty much recreated exactly what was shown in telesnaps, because I think in the book they just randomly run into each other. In the thing, it's like you have Victoria just walking down one of the tunnels, and then here comes the Doctor and Colonel Alistair Lippert Stewart, which I think he looks fine under the administration, this being the only story that features him that actually is lost. Yeah, isn't that surprising that this is the only story he's featured in where there's an episode he's in is actually lost as his debut episode. I'm sure Nicholas Courtney, the actor playing, I'm sure he probably would love the scene as Anna Restoration. I'm sure he would have loved it, given the fact they did a really good job recreating the way he looked back then, because the way he transitioned back into the regular surviving episode, it's very seamless, and yeah, they did a really good job with it. The Doctor, of course, I think it's the same model they used from the previous second Doctor story that they actually restored, which was, I think, was Abominable Snowman. I think that was the previous one. Let me take a look at that one here. Because I'm thinking it's for the same one. Let's see. Because right now, let's see, this is With Fear. Let's see, 22nd. Okay, so this story, this one here came out after the Abominable Snowman. Okay, they probably used the same with this one. So, of the anniversary episodes for the second Doctor, however, let's see. What was the previous one for him? Before this very story, let's see. I'd say it's probably Evil of the Daleks. Yes. Oh, and the obvious question is, what was the first second Doctor story ever to use anime restoration? The answer is Invasion. That was the very first one, which I own this one. Yep. That was the first one. Of course, I think this one is by far the only one I had left to review, because I practically reviewed. Wait, there is still one left. Yes, there is still one left. I have not reviewed yet. From this era, that has had an anniversary, and I think it's the most recent one released for Second Doctor. That being the Animal Menace. Yes, they had released one this year. Yes, and I saw it when I went to Barnes & Noble yesterday. The Savages. Yep, that got it. Which, this was the... let's see. 1... 2... 3... I think this was the... Hang on. Let's see. 1, 2... 3, 4. I think it's overall the 5th. Yes, the 5th. Yep, 5th. First Doctor story to get anime restoration. Though in the case of the Savages, is all the episodes. Full-size Toymaker, it's pretty much basically like just 3 episodes. For Savages, all 4. Galaxy 4, it's like 3 of them. Reign of Terror, it's like 2. And as of currently, with the last no one released for Second Doctor, there was one released just this year, and that was No One Menace. That was the most recent one released. And before that one was Abominable Snowman. Yes. But as of currently, for Second Doctor, there is a total of about 3 left to be in restoration. That being the Highlanders, Wheel in Space, and the Space Pirates. I have heard of the 3 remaining ones we have in restoration for Second Doctor. Wheel in Space is the most logical choice to be the next one, because they've already released one for First Doctor, that being the Savages. With that being the 4th one, like, okay, so what is left to be adapted for First Doctor? Like, of the missing episodes. Let's see. Okay, let's see if we can find it here. So, the ones left to go for First Doctor, because these basically ones now, the ones are left. You have Marco Polo, The Crusade, Mission into the Unknown. There is a recreation but not animation for this one. The Midmakers, The Dalek Master Plan, The Massacre at Bartholomew's Eve, The Smugglers. Yeah, he has 7 left. Yep. Only 7, which is interesting. Yes. And only 4 have gotten it. Which I find that to be interesting. The fact that it's like that. Like, there is, I don't think there's like, I think there, no, there's not a full season that's received that. I would say of Second Doctor's first season, Highlanders is the only one left. Yes. Wheel in Space is another one that's only left. Yeah, it seems like of the 3 seasons, like, as of now, 1 each. While the First Doctor has 7 left. Let's see. It's 1, 2, 6. Yeah, currently it's 7, given the fact that Savages is the most recent one. Now, I have watched the Toymaker, which I thought was really good, by the way. Will I get a chance to watch, or at least to get a chance to maybe review? Now, there are, like, of the ones released so far, released on animation, is about 3 left. There is Reign of Terror, Galaxy 4, and now the Savages. Will I get a chance to view those? Yes. I'm hoping of that. Oh, and also 10 Planet. So he's at 5, because 10 Planet is one of them. 10 Planet was actually one of 2 of the first ones. 2 of the first ones, and this is really weird. Like, nothing for years. Probably because basically the BBC was shoving out a bunch of, like, Second Doctor ones. I found that to be interesting. The fact that the Second Doctor gets a lot of love, not the First Doctor. Probably because basically he's more popular than the First Doctor, and the fact there's probably less stories for him to restore than, let's say, First Doctor. And there's no denying the story is still really good. But next up, I still give that roughly a 10 out of 10. The ending of that does set up basically a unit. It's actually one of 2 stories, basically notorious for this. Set in this period of time where it sets up unity of being Revolution Dalek, the silver anniversary story. Next up is a story. This is actually a novel released in, I think it was 1989. I think it was. Let's see. Yeah, original release in 1989, had a re-release in 1992. It was a story that was supposed to be a serial for Season 23, released from Target Books. Yep. Now, as for the reason why, now there was actually 6 unproduced scripts, but for some weird reason, not sure why, yeah, where these stories, they said passing these stories because, well, I did finally figure out recently what the reason was for the hiatus. The guy in charge of BBC at the time hated Doctor Who. He hated the fact that money was being allocated from the budget of BBC to make Doctor Who because he'd rather do soaps. And because that Doctor show suffered, and so ended. And apparently the reason the show came back when it did for Trial of Time Lord was because of fan campaign. I didn't know anything about this. All I knew was it went hiatus for 18 months. And this actually was one of the stories called The Nightmare Fair. Yes. This one, as you see the cover, it's Return of the Celestial Toymaker. And this was supposed to take place after the story where the 6th Doctor, Colin Baker, fought the Daleks. Here he's in Blackpool because apparently originally that was going to be said in the story, but apparently in the opposition of Revelation Daleks, that he were going to Blackpool. And the whole thing of Nightmare Fairies is that the Doctor and Perry, yeah, this is Perry, Nicole O'Brien's character. Yes, I know about the fact there's actually also a audio drama. I'm looking for that. And it's weird seeing the logo for Doctor Who that was used during 7th Doctor associated with a 6th Doctor story. I found that weird, but I guess the reason why they put that logo on the cover because that was I'm guessing at this, it was a logo at that point, so they put it on the cover. So the Doctor and Perry are basically in Blackpool. There's this disappearances going on there, and they also mention all this mysterious Mandarin, which turns out to be the Toymaker, which this actually was to be his planned return to the series since his initial self-titled story, The Toymaker. The version I have here is 119 pages. I'm guessing this was the original 89 release of the book. Oh, by the way, if you want to find this book, good freaking luck. Because, for some weird reason, older Doctor Who books have fallen out of print. Yes, seriously. They have fallen out of print, and these books now cost like 80 freaking bucks to find these damn things. I was looking to find a PDF copy of this book. Yes. And apparently, get this. So then the Doctor meets up with the Toymaker, 50 pages into the story, mind you, and is like, "Oh, it's you. Yep. How long have you been here?" He had to find basically show his arms like this. He said for a while, and basically there was this guy named Kevin in the story who is brought this fun park, which the whole thing with this one is basically where the Celeste Toymaker wanted to make video games. Deadly video games. My guess, it was the 80s. Video games were starting to catch on people. It wasn't like big as let's say nowadays per se, but they're basically out there. He wanted to do that. It's a very interesting story. And what I would have seen this adapt with this in actual episode of the extra show, yes. Given its length per se, it could be just a single standalone episode, maybe. I'm guessing. Given the fact it's 119 pages, surprise basically was never made one. And if you're curious, yes, they did make an audio drama. They made 2 of them. First one featured new cast. I think there's more audio drama of the actual book. And then they made an actual audio drama of this actual book with the cast of the show. Yes. We have the Doctor, once of course, played by Colin Baker. You have Nicole O'Brien playing Perry. But you're thinking, was the Celestial Toymaker played by Michael Goth? Okay. No. They didn't bring him back for the story. Not sure why. The actor was still alive. Actually, no, let's see. They made the story in...
Nebula, but the design.
Sorry about that. It was made in 2009. Let me take a look and see, when did Michael Goth himself pass away? He was the original actor who played him. He passed away in 2011. I'm surprised they never actually, So according to what I read on here, apparently it's unknown he was asked to come back for the story, but apparently he was retired by the time that the story would have been produced, and he did the movies as a favor to Tim Burton. But it is something, though. Oh, and here's something interesting, though. Did you know that he actually married the actress who played Polly? You're like, really? Yeah, he married Polly. He married the actress who played Polly. Yeah, they got married in, well, actually, they were married from 1962 to 1979. Let's see. He was born in 1916. So he was probably almost 50 when he married her. I'm guessing 46 and was born in 1941. So she was roughly much younger. Yeah, much younger. Like, if you're curious, how much younger was Anne younger than Michael Goth? 25 years younger. Yes. And they were married for 16 years. So when they married in 1962, Michael Goth was 46 and Wickens was 21. Yep, marry a man at 25 years older than she is. Yep. Yes. But I mean, just voiceover work. He doesn't have to basically run around. Yeah. But it's sad. Now, here's the thing. I have honestly no idea if, in fact, that basically, if the story's any good. I have no idea. I have not listened to it. It's a 2-part story. Yeah, I'll probably listen to it at some point, and I probably will get a chance to do a review of it. Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up we have is basically, well, there you go. We have a comic corner next. Yep, a comic corner. Let's see. Let's do one right now, okay? Next video. Bye.